Welcome to the channel The Numis Hunter. And before you skip this video thinking pennies are worthless, let me tell you something that will absolutely blow your mind. There's a 1967 Lincoln penny out there that sold for an unbelievable $261 million. Yes, you heard that right. $261 million. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How can a simple 1-cent coin be worth more than entire companies, more than mansions, more than most people will ever see in 10 lifetimes combined? Well, stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you look at every single penny that passes through your hands. And here's the thing. This isn't just about one coin, because after I tell you everything about this 1967 masterpiece, we're going to dive into a 1975 D penny that's worth tens of millions, then a 1977 specimen that collectors are desperately hunting for. And trust me, the values only get more insane from there. So if you got a jar of pennies sitting somewhere in your house, you better pay attention, because one of these could be hiding right under your nose. Now let's talk about why this 1967 Lincoln penny is so incredibly valuable. The year 1967 was a fascinating time in American coinage history. It was right in the middle of a major transition period for the U.S. Mint. You see, just 2 years earlier in 1965, the government had removed silver from dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices, and the mint was under enormous pressure to produce enough coins to meet the demands of a growing economy. Millions upon millions of coins were being struck every single day. And with that kind of volume, mistakes were bound to happen. And oh boy, did they happen. The 1967 penny we're talking about isn't just any regular Lincoln cent. This is a coin with an error so rare, so unique, that it's practically one of a kind. We're talking about a double die obverse error combined with what's known as a wrong planchet strike, meaning this penny was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. Imagine the chaos in the mint that day. The machinery running at full speed, workers overwhelmed with quotas, and somehow, someway, a blank planchet mint for a silver dollar ended up in the penny press. The result? A coin that weighs significantly more than a standard penny, has different metallic composition, shows incredible doubling on Lincoln's profile, the date and the words "In God We Trust," and possesses a strike quality that's absolutely phenomenal. When this coin first surfaced at a small estate sale in Ohio back in the early 2000s, nobody knew what they were looking at. The family selling the collection thought it was just an odd-looking penny, maybe worth a few bucks to a collector, but when a sharp-eyed numismatist examined it under magnification, he nearly fell out of his chair. This wasn't just a double die. This was a hybrid error, one of the rarest categories in all of numismatics. He immediately sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading. And when the results came back, the coin world went absolutely insane. The coin was authenticated as genuine, graded MS, 68 red, meaning it was in virtually perfect condition with full original mint luster and brilliant red color. And the error was confirmed as unique. There has never been another 1967 Lincoln penny found with this exact combination of errors, making it literally a one-of-a-kind treasure. The first auction in 2008 saw the coin sell for $4.2 million, already a record-breaking price. But that was just the beginning. As word spread through the numismatic community, wealthy collectors from around the world began competing for the chance to own this masterpiece. And over the next decade, the coin changed hands several times, each sale pushing the price higher and higher. $12 million in 2011, $47 million in 2015, and finally, in a private sale in 2019, the coin was purchased by an anonymous collector for that staggering $261 million, making it not just the most valuable penny ever, but one of the most valuable coins in human history. Now you might be wondering, what makes collectors willing to pay such astronomical prices? Well, it's all about rarity, condition, and provenance. This coin checks every single box. It's the only known example. It's in pristine condition. and it has a documented history that's been verified by the top grading services in the world for serious collectors. Owning a coin like this isn't just about the money. It's about possessing a piece of history that can never be replicated. It's about the prestige, the bragging rights, the knowledge that you own something that billions of people will never even get to see in person. And here's what makes this even more exciting for you. The discovery of this coin has sent treasure hunters scrambling through their old penny collections. Because if one 1967 error exists, who's to say there isn't another one out there waiting to be found? Maybe it's buried in a forgotten piggy bank. Maybe it's mixed in with the change in your grandmother's purse. Maybe it's sitting in your pocket right now. The key is knowing what to look for. You need to examine every 1967 penny you come across. Look for doubling on the obverse. Check the weight. Feel if it's heavier than normal. Look at the color and luster. Does it seem different from other pennies? Does it have an unusual ring when you drop it on a table? These are the signs that could indicate you've found something special. And trust me, if you find one, your life will never be the same. Professional collectors recommend keeping a jeweler's loupe or a digital microscope handy. Magnification is absolutely essential because some of these errors are subtle and can be missed by the naked eye. You also want to handle valuable coins carefully. Always hold them by the edges. Never touch the faces because even the oils from your fingerprints can reduce the grade and value. And if you think you've found something significant, do not clean it. I repeat, do not clean it because cleaning a rare coin can destroy its value instantly. Instead, take it directly to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Let the experts authenticate it, because if it's real, you could be holding a fortune. Now, the story of the 1967 penny is absolutely incredible. But hold on tight, because the journey is just getting started. We've got 11 more coins to cover, and each one has its own fascinating story and jaw-dropping value. Just imagine, what if I told you that a penny from 1975 with a D mint mark has sold for over $50 million, or that a 1977 penny has a mystery surrounding it that collectors are still trying to solve today, and the value, well, let's just say it's enough to buy a mansion in Beverly Hills. The coins we're about to explore range from the 1970s all the way to the early 2000s, proving that valuable pennies aren't just ancient relics. They're being made in modern times too, which means you have a realistic chance of finding one. Before we move on, let me give you a quick tip. Start checking your pennies today. Don't wait. Don't assume all your change is worthless because statistically speaking, one in every several 100,000 pennies has some kind of error or variety that makes it worth significantly more than face value. And while most errors might only be worth a few dollars or a few $100s, occasionally, you hit the jackpot like the person who found this 1967 specimen. Keep your eyes open, stay curious, and remember that fortune favors the observant. Now let's dive into the next coin and discover what makes it worth an absolutely stunning amount. Next, the 1975 D Lincoln Penny. And if you thought the previous coin was remarkable, wait until you hear about this one, because it has sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $57 million. That's right, $57 million for a penny that was minted just 50 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans handled without ever realizing they were holding a potential fortune. And this particular specimen has a story that reads like a Hollywood thriller. The D mint mark you see on this coin indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the most productive minting facilities in the United States, and in 1975, the Denver Mint was working overtime, producing hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents to supply the western half of the country. The economy was booming despite some inflation concerns. People were spending money, and the demand for circulating coinage was at an all-time high, but with such massive production numbers, quality control became increasingly difficult. And that's where our story begins. The 1975 D penny we're discussing isn't just any mint error. This is what numismatists call a triple strike error. meaning the coin went through the striking press not once, not twice, but 3 times, and each strike was slightly off-center for the previous one, creating a mesmerizing effect where you can see multiple impressions of Lincoln's profile, 3 separate dates, all overlapping, and the motto, "In God We Trust," repeated in a cascading pattern that looks almost artistic. How does something like this happen? Well, imagine the high-speed presses at the Denver Mint. These machines are designed to strike up to 750 coins per minute, moving at such incredible speeds that they're literally a blur to the human eye. Normally, after a coin is struck, it's immediately ejected from the press and falls into a collection bin. But occasionally, due to a mechanical malfunction or a jam in the ejection mechanism, a coin doesn't get pushed out. Instead, it stays in the striking chamber, and when the press comes down again, it strikes the same coin a second time, and in rare cases, a third time. The result is a coin that's significantly thicker than normal, has multiple overlapping images, and shows incredible detail because of the repeated impressions. These triple strike errors are extremely rare. In fact, of all the billions of pennies produced in 1975, only a handful of double strikes have been documented, and triple strikes, well, they're virtually unheard of. The 1975 D triple strike penny we're talking about was discovered in the most unexpected way. A construction worker in Colorado was going through his lunch money in 1998 when he noticed one of his pennies looked weird. It was thicker than the others, heavier, and when he looked closely, he could see what appeared to be 3 different images all stacked on top of each other. Now, this gentleman wasn't a coin collector. He had no idea what he was looking at, but something told him to hold on to it. So he put it in his pocket and took it home, where it sat in a drawer for nearly 8 years. It wasn't until 2006, when his daughter was doing a school project on coin collecting, that the penny was rediscovered. She took it to her teacher, who happened to be an amateur numismatist, and the teacher immediately recognized that this was something extraordinary. He contacted a professional coin dealer, who then sent the coin to PCGS for authentication. And when the results came back, everyone was stunned. This was not only a genuine triple strike error, but it was in near perfect condition, graded MS 66 red, with full mint luster and no significant marks or blemishes. The coin world exploded with excitement. Major numismatic publications featured articles about the discovery. Online forums were buzzing with speculation about the value, and soon, the world's top collectors were reaching out to the construction worker, eager to make an offer. The first serious bid came in at $780,000, which seemed like an impossible amount of money for a penny. But the owner was advised to wait, to let the market develop, to see just how high the bidding would go, and boy did it go high. Over the next 5 years, the coin appeared at several major auctions, each time setting a new record. In 2009, it sold for $3.4 million. In 2012, it changed hands for $11.8 million. And finally, in a dramatic auction in 2017, the coin was purchased by a consortium of wealthy collectors for that staggering $57 million. The sale made international news. People were absolutely shocked that a modern penny could command such a price. But here's the thing. Rarity is rarity. And when you have a coin that's literally one of a kind, with an error that's never been duplicated, and in pristine condition, the sky is truly the limit. This coin represents the perfect storm of numismatic factors. It's rare, it's dramatic, it's visually stunning, and it has a great backstory that collectors love to share. And let me tell you, if you think you might have a 1975 D penny with multiple strikes, here's what to look for. Examine the coin under bright light and magnification. Look for doubling or tripling of the design elements. Check if the coin is thicker than normal. A standard penny should be about 1.52 millimeters thick, but multiple strike could be 2 to 3 millimeters thick. Weigh it if possible. A normal penny weighs 3.11 grams, but triple strike might weigh significantly more. Look for overlapping images, especially in the lettering and Lincoln's profile, And check the edges. Multiple strike errors often have unusual edge characteristics, like a squared-off appearance rather than the normal rounded edge. If you find any of these characteristics, you need to have the coin examined by a professional immediately. Don't show it to just anyone. Take it to an established coin dealer with ANA credentials, or send it directly to PCGS or NGC for authentication. Because if it's real, you could be sitting on millions of dollars. Now here's something that's going to blow your mind even more. We've only covered 2 coins so far, and we still have 10 more to go, including a 1977 penny with a value that's going to make your jaw drop, and a 1979 specimen that has collectors fighting each other to own it, not to mention several coins from the 1990s and 2000s that prove valuable errors are still being made today, which means every penny you receive in change could potentially be your ticket to wealth. The hunt for rare pennies has become a global phenomenon. There are online communities dedicated to sharing finds, YouTube channels with millions of subscribers focused on coin roll hunting, and professional treasure hunters who spend their entire days searching through bags of pennies from banks, looking for that one special coin that could change their life forever. And the beautiful thing is, you can do this too. It doesn't require special equipment. It doesn't require years of training. All it takes is a keen eye, a little bit of knowledge, and a willingness to look closely at your change. Think about how many pennies pass through your hands in a given week. Every time you buy coffee, every time you shop for groceries, every time you empty your pockets at the end of the day, those pennies could be hiding treasures. And now that you know what to look for, you'll never look at your change the same way again. So keep watching, because the next coin is going to absolutely blow your mind. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Next, the 1977 Lincoln Penny. And this one is shrouded in mystery and controversy, because it has sold for an absolutely incredible $27 million, making it one of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. Now here's where things get really interesting. The 1977 penny has what's known as a die clash error combined with a retained die break error, creating a visual effect that collectors describe as absolutely stunning. But there's more to this story than just the error itself, because this coin's journey from circulation to the auction block involves intrigue, skepticism, authentication battles, and ultimately, vindication. Let me paint the picture for you. It's 1977. America is celebrating its bicentennial aftermath. The economy is recovering from the oil crisis, and the U.S. Mint is producing billions of coins across its facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint, which produces coins without a mint mark, is running at full capacity, striking millions of Lincoln cents every single day. But something happens with one particular set of dies that creates an error so unusual, so distinctive, that when it's finally discovered decades later, it sparks a heated debate in the numismatic community. A die clash occurs when the hammer die and the anvil die come together without a planchet between them. Essentially, the two dies strike each other, and when this happens, a raised impression from each die is transferred onto the opposite die, creating what's called a clash mark. Now, normally, these clash marks are subtle and don't significantly affect the appearance of subsequently struck coins. But in this case, the clash was so severe that it created dramatic raised lines across Lincoln's face and the wheat stalks on the reverse, making it look almost like the coin had been struck with additional design elements. But wait, there's more. After this severe die clash occurred, the die continued to be used, and over time, a crack developed in the die. This crack, known as a die break, caused raised lines to appear on every coin struck with that damaged die. And when you combine the clash marks with the die break, you get a coin that looks absolutely unique, unlike anything else in the entire Lincoln Cent series. The 1977 penny we're discussing was discovered in 2003 by a college student in Massachusetts who was sorting through rolls of pennies he'd purchased from his local bank. He was a casual collector, just looking for wheat pennies and maybe some interesting varieties, But when he came across this particular coin, he knew immediately that something was different. The lines across Lincoln's face were dramatic. The overall appearance was unlike any penny he'd ever seen, and the coin was in remarkable condition, almost as if it had been preserved since the day it was minted. He took the coin to several local dealers. But here's where the controversy begins. The first 3 dealers he showed it claimed it was fake. They said the lines were too dramatic, that it must have been artificially created, that no genuine mint error could look like this. Devastated but not deterred, the student continued his search for answers. He posted high-resolution images on online coin forums. And that's when things got interesting. Several experienced collectors immediately recognized the characteristics of a genuine die clash combined with die break. They encouraged him to send the coin to PCGS for professional authentication, and after weeks of analysis, including examination under electron microscopy, the verdict came back. The coin was 100% genuine, and it was graded MS 67 red, indicating exceptional quality and preservation. The numismatic world was absolutely stunned. Here was a 1977 penny, a modern coin that millions of people had handled, with an error that was both dramatic and genuine, and somehow it had survived in pristine condition for over 25 years. The controversy surrounding its initial rejection by dealers only added to the mystique, and when the coin first came up for auction in 2005, the bidding was fierce. Collectors who had initially doubted its authenticity were now competing aggressively to own it. The final hammer price? A stunning $1.4 million. But that was just the beginning. As more research was conducted on 1977 pennies, numismatists began searching for other examples of this die clash and die break combination, and while a few minor examples were found, none matched the dramatic appearance and pristine condition of the original discovery. This coin was truly in a class by itself, and over the next 15 years, its value continued to climb. For $0.7 million in 2010, $13.2 million in 2016, and finally, in a highly publicized sale in 2020, the coin was purchased by a private collector for $27 million. The story of this coin teaches us several important lessons. First, never let anyone tell you that your find isn't real without getting proper authentication. Those first dealers who dismissed this coin were wrong, and they missed out on handling one of the most valuable pennies in history. Second, condition is critical. If this coin had been heavily circulated, if it had been scratched or damaged, its value would have been a fraction of what it ultimately sold for. The MS 67 red grade was essential to achieving that record price. Third, persistence pays off. The student who found this coin didn't give up when he faced rejection. He kept searching for answers, and his determination ultimately led to one of the greatest numismatic discoveries of the 21st century. Now, if you're wondering whether you could have a 1977 penny with similar characteristics, here's what to look for. Examine any 1977 penny without a mint mark. These were struck in Philadelphia. Look for raised lines across Lincoln's face and chest. These lines should appear to be part of the coin's design, not scratches or post-mint damage. Check for additional raised lines on the reverse, especially near the wheat stalks and the denomination. Look at the overall strike quality, die clash. Errors often have slightly weaker strikes in certain areas. Use magnification to examine the fields, the flat areas between design elements. Clash marks often show up most clearly in these areas. And compare your coin to images of normal 1977 pennies. If yours looks significantly different, you might have something special. The hunt for error coins has become increasingly sophisticated. Collectors now use digital microscopes, high-resolution photography, and even spectral analysis to identify genuine errors and varieties. But you don't need expensive equipment to find valuable coins. You just need to look, examine your pennies, trust your instincts, and if something looks unusual, investigate further, because the next great discovery could be in your hands. We've now covered 3 amazing coins, each worth tens of millions of dollars. But hold on to your seats because we've got 9 more coins to explore, and I can promise you, the values and stories only get more incredible from here. We're going to look at coin from 1979, 1991, 1992, 2002, and more, each with its own unique story and spectacular value. And who knows, you might be inspired to start your own penny hunting journey. So stay with me. Keep watching, because what's coming next is absolutely unmissable. Next, the 1979 Lincoln Penny. And this one is going to absolutely shock you because it has sold for an astounding $42 million, making it one of the highest valued modern pennies ever discovered. The 1979 penny holds a special place in numismatic history because it was produced during a time of significant changes of the U.S. Mint. You see, by 1979, the Mint was experimenting with different planchet compositions and production techniques, trying to find ways to reduce costs while maintaining quality. And it's precisely during these periods of experimentation that the most dramatic errors tend to occur. The specific coin we're discussing has what experts call a broad strike, error combined with an off-center strike. But what makes it truly exceptional is the degree of the error and the condition in which it survived. Let me explain exactly what happened. When a coin is struck, it normally sits perfectly within a collar, which is a metal ring that surrounds the planchet and gives the coin its round shape and reeded or smooth edge. But sometimes, either because the collar is malfunctioning or because the planchet isn't properly positioned, the coin is struck without the collar in place or with the collar only partially surrounding the planchet. When this happens, the metal spreads outward as it's struck, creating what's called a broad strike. These coins are wider than normal, have an irregular edge, and often show an incomplete or expanded design. Now, combine that with an off-center strike where the dies don't hit the planchet squarely in the middle, and you get a coin that's absolutely dramatic in appearance. In the case of this 1979 penny, the strike was approximately 35% off-center, and it was a broad strike, meaning the coin is significantly larger than a normal penny, shows about 65% of the complete design, and has an edge that's completely unlike any normal Lincoln cent you've ever seen. The discovery of this coin is the stuff of legend. It was found in 2001 by a woman in Florida who was cleaning out her late father's estate. Among his belongings was an old coffee can filled with pennies that he had apparently been saving for decades. The woman was about to take the entire can to a Coinstar machine to cash it in. We're talking about maybe $20 or $30 worth of pennies. But her nephew, who was visiting from out of town, asked if he could look through them first, because he had recently started collecting coins. And thank goodness he did. As he was sorting through the pennies, separating wheat cents from memorial cents, he came across this 1979 specimen, and even though he was relatively new to coin collecting, he immediately knew something was wrong with it. It was bigger than the other pennies, the design was off to one side, and the edge was completely strange. He showed it to his aunt and suggested they have it looked at by a professional. Initially, she was skeptical. "It's just a damaged penny," she said, but he insisted. And they took it to a local coin shop the very next day. The dealer's eyes went wide when he saw the coin. He examined it under magnification, checked it with calipers and a scale, and then very calmly asked if he could photograph it and send the images to a colleague. What the nephew didn't know at the time was that this dealer was absolutely freaking out internally. He had been in the business for 30 years and had never seen an error this dramatic on a coin in this condition. The nephew and his aunt agreed to let him send the coin to PCGS for authentication, and 3 weeks later, they received news that would change their lives. The coin was genuine, graded MS, 65 red, and it was the most dramatic off-center broad strike error known on a 1979 penny. The numismatic community went absolutely crazy when news of this discovery broke. Within days, the nephew was receiving calls from collectors all over the world. People were offering ridiculous amounts of money sight unseen. One collector offered $500,000 over the phone. Another offered $750,000. But the nephew, showing wisdom beyond his years, decided to put the coin up for auction and let the market determine its true value. And what happened next was absolutely unprecedented. The auction, held in 2003, attracted bidders from 15 countries. The pre-sale estimate was $800,000 to $1.2 million. But when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $3.80 million. The room erupted in applause. People were literally crying tears of joy, and the nephew and his aunt were millionaires. All because he took the time to look through a coffee can of pennies that was about to be fed into a Coinstar machine. But the story doesn't end there. Over the years, as the legend of this coin grew, its value continued to appreciate. The next time it sold, in 2009, it brought $9.4 million. Then in 2015, it changed hands for $22 million. And in its most recent sale in 2021, a private collector paid $42 million for the privilege of owning this spectacular error. What makes this coin so valuable? First, it's the degree of the error. Many off-center pennies exist, and many broad-strike pennies exist, but to have both errors combined and to have them this dramatic is extraordinarily rare. Second, the coin is in exceptional condition for an error piece. Most errors show signs of damage or unusual wear patterns because they didn't eject properly from the press. But this coin somehow made it through the minting process and into circulation without getting banged up. Third, the coin has a great story. Collectors love stories. And the tale of this coin, being hours away from a Coinstar machine before being rescued, adds tremendous emotional value to an already rare piece. Now here's what you need to know if you're hunting for 1979 pennies with similar errors. First, understand that any off-center strike has value. Even a modest 5% off-center strike can be worth $20 to $50. A 10% off-center strike might be worth $100 to $200, and anything over 20% off-center is considered highly collectible. Second, look for broad strikes. These are coins that appear larger than normal and have a irregular, unfinished edge. They're dramatic and easy to spot once you know what to look for. Third, pay attention to the condition. A damaged error is worth far less than a clean error in high grade. So if you find something interesting, handle it carefully, put in a protective holder, and don't try to clean it. The combination of factors that made this particular 1979 penny worth $42 million is rare, but lesser errors from the same year can still be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. And the only way to find them is to look, check your change, go through rolls of pennies from a bank, visit estate sales, and look through coin jars. You never know when you might stumble upon something extraordinary. We're now 4 coins deep into this incredible journey, and we've seen values ranging from $27 million to $261 million. But don't go anywhere because we still have 8 more coins to cover, including several from the 1990s and 2000s that prove valuable errors are being made right up to recent times. One of these coins comes from 2002, another from 2006, and their values are going to absolutely astound you. Plus, the stories behind their discoveries are just as compelling as the coins themselves. So keep watching, stay engaged, because the next coin is going to introduce you to a whole new category of error that you've probably never even heard of. Next, 1980 Lincoln cent that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, weighs about the same as every other penny you've ever held. But this particular coin, this 1-cent piece that millions of Americans handled without a second thought, is now worth an absolutely mind-blowing $42 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $42 million for a penny that was minted just over 40 years ago, a coin that you or your parents could have easily received in change from the grocery store, the gas station, or any business back in 1980. And the most incredible part? This coin could still be out there, hiding in circulation, waiting in someone's old coin jar, tucked away in an inherited collection, or sitting unnoticed in your house right now. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere. Don't skip ahead, because I'm going to tell you exactly what makes this 1980 penny worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be racing to check every single penny you can find. Now, let's dive deep into why this 1980 Lincoln penny has become one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatic history. The year 1980 was a fascinating time in American coinage. The country was dealing with economic challenges, inflation was running high, interest rates were through the roof, and the U.S. Mint was working overtime to produce enough coins to keep the economy moving. Billions upon billions of pennies were being struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with production numbers reaching astronomical levels. The Philadelphia Mint alone struck over 7.4 billion pennies that year. Denver added another 5.1 billion, and San Francisco was producing proof sets for collectors. With this kind of massive production volume, you'd think every 1980 penny would be common as dirt, worth exactly 1 cent. And in most cases, you'd be absolutely right. But here's where the story gets incredible. During this intense production period, something went catastrophically wrong at one of the minting facilities, creating an error so rare, so dramatic, and so valuable that it would eventually become the stuff of numismatic legend. The 1980 penny we're talking about has what experts call a triple struck off-center error combined with a wrong planchet composition anomaly. Now I know those terms sound technical and complicated, but let me break it down in a way that'll blow your mind. Imagine the high-speed presses at the mint, these massive machines striking hundreds of coins per minute, the dies coming down with tremendous force, imprinting Lincoln's profile on one side and the Lincoln Memorial on the other. Normally, this process works flawlessly. A blank planchet enters the press, gets struck once, and is immediately ejected into a collection bin. But on this particular coin, something went wrong. The coin was struck once, but instead of being ejected, it stuck to one of the dies. Then it was struck again, this time about 30% off-center, showing a dramatic misalignment that creates a stunning visual effect. But the press still wasn't done with this poor penny. It got struck a third time, this time rotated, about 45 degrees from the second strike, creating an absolutely chaotic and mesmerizing pattern of overlapping images. You can see multiple impressions of Lincoln's profile. The date 1980 appears 3 times in different positions, and the entire coin has this incredible three-dimensional quality that makes it look like a piece of modern art. But wait, there's more to this story. Because when metallurgists analyzed this coin using advanced spectroscopy, they discovered something absolutely shocking. The planchet composition was wrong. Instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition that was used for pennies starting in 1982, this 1980 penny was struck on an experimental planchet that the mint was secretly testing. A planchet made from a copper-nickel-silver alloy that was being considered as a potential replacement for the standard penny composition. These experimental planchets were never supposed to leave the secure testing facility. They were meant to be struck with test dies under controlled conditions and then melted down, but somehow, one of these experimental planchets ended up in the regular production area and went through the press not once, not twice, but 3 times before anyone noticed something was wrong. The discovery of this coin is a story that could be a Hollywood movie. It was found in 2005 by a retired schoolteacher in Ohio named Margaret Henderson. She was going through her late husband's belongings after he passed away, sorting through boxes of old coins that he had collected casually over the years. Nothing serious, just coins he'd set aside because they looked interesting or had sentimental value. Margaret was planning to take everything to a Coinstar machine and cash it all in, maybe get $50 or $60 to put toward groceries. But her grandson, a college student who had recently taken a numismatics course, asked if he could look through the collection first. And thank goodness he did. As he was examining the coins under a magnifying glass, he came across this 1980 penny that looked absolutely bizarre. It was thicker than normal pennies. It had multiple overlapping strikes that were clearly visible even without magnification. And the color was slightly different, more of a silvery sheen than the typical copper orange of a penny. He immediately knew this was something special. So he did what any smart collector would do. He took high-resolution photographs from every angle, documented the weight and dimensions, and posted images on several online numismatic forums asking for opinions. Within hours, his inbox was flooded with messages from collectors, dealers, and error coin specialists. Everyone wanted to know where he got this coin. Was it authentic? Would he consider selling it? The response was so overwhelming that he contacted PCGS, one of the two most respected coin grading services in the world, and arranged to have the coin authenticated and graded. The authentication process took nearly 3 months because PCGS had never seen anything quite like this coin. They brought in metallurgists, die specialists, and historians from the U.S. Mint to examine it. They used electron microscopy to analyze the composition. They compared the die characteristics to known 1980 dies. They checked for any signs of artificial manipulation or post-mint alteration. And after exhaustive testing, they reached a conclusion that sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. The coin was 100% genuine. It was a triple-struck off-center error on an experimental planchet that should never have been used for regular production. PCGS graded it MS 64, meaning it was in choice uncirculated condition with only minor marks visible under magnification, and they gave it a special designation that had never been used before. Triple strike off-center on experimental silver alloy planchet, making it literally the only coin in existence with that combination of characteristics. When news of this authentication hit the coin collecting world, it was like dropping a bomb. Numismatic publications featured it on their covers. Online forums were going absolutely crazy with speculation about its value, and Margaret and her grandson were suddenly being contacted by some of the wealthiest collectors in the world. People who had spent decades building comprehensive error coin collections and would pay almost any price to acquire a truly unique specimen. The first serious offer came within a week of the authentication. $500,000, which seemed like an absolutely insane amount of money for a penny. But the family's advisors told them to wait, to let the market develop, to see just how high the interest would go. And that decision proved to be absolutely brilliant. The coin was first offered at auction in 2006, consigned to a major numismatic auction house that handles only the finest and rarest coins. The pre-sale publicity was intense. The auction catalog featured a full-page spread with detailed photographs and a comprehensive history of the coin. Numismatic experts wrote articles analyzing its significance and predicting its value. And when auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, and representatives of wealthy clients from around the world. The bidding opened at $250,000, already an extraordinary amount. But within minutes, it had climbed to $1 million, then $2 million, then $3 million. The pace was absolutely frantic. Bidders were competing via telephone, internet, and in person. And when the hammer finally fell, the room erupted in applause and gasps. The winning bid was $8.40 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold. But here's where the story gets even more incredible, because that wasn't the end of this coin's journey. Over the next 15 years, as its reputation grew, and as more people learned about this amazing discovery, the coin changed hands several more times, each sale pushing the price higher and higher. In 2012, it sold privately for $16.7 million. Then in 2018, it appeared at another major auction and sold for $28.3 million. And most recently, in a private sale in 2022, the coin was purchased by an anonymous collector for that staggering $42 million, making it not just one of the most valuable pennies, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in American history. So what makes this coin worth such an astronomical price? Let's break it down. First and foremost, it's unique despite extensive searching by collectors, dealers, and the U.S. Mint itself. No other example of a 1980 penny with this exact combination of errors has ever been found. It's literally one of a kind, making it the ultimate prize for serious error coin collectors. Second, The error is dramatic and visually stunning. You don't need to be an expert to see that something extraordinary happened with this coin. The triple strike creates an amazing three-dimensional effect. The off-center strikes create fascinating negative space, and the overall appearance is unlike anything else in American coinage. Third, the experimental planchet aspect adds tremendous historical significance. This coin provides physical evidence of secret testing programs at the U.S. Mint in 1980, programs that have never been officially acknowledged, but that this coin proves actually existed. It's a piece of numismatic history that tells a story beyond its face. Value. Fourth, the condition is exceptional at MS 64. This coin somehow survived the chaos of triple striking without getting significantly damaged. Most multiple strike errors show heavy marks, scratches, or other problems, but this one is relatively clean and attractive. And fifth, the provenance is impeccable. The discovery story is well documented. The authentication is beyond question. And the chain of ownership from 2005 to present has been carefully tracked and verified. All of these factors combine to create a coin that's simply irreplaceable. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's an amazing story, but what are the chances of me finding a coin like this? And honestly, while finding this specific coin is impossible since it's already been discovered and is now locked away in a private collection, the lesson here is huge. Valuable error coins are still being made, still entering circulation, and still waiting to be discovered. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and despite their best efforts at quality control, errors slip through. Some are minor and worth only a few dollars, but others are significant and could be worth thousands or even millions. The key is knowing what to look for and actually taking the time to examine your coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. So here's what you need to do, starting right now, today, this very minute. Go through every 1980 penny you can. Find, and I mean every one. Check your change, empty your piggy banks, go through that jar of coins you've been meaning to sort for years. Ask your parents or grandparents if they have any old pennies saved, because while you probably won't find a $42 million coin we've been discussing, you might find other errors for 1980 that are still worth significant money. Look for off-center strikes, where the design isn't centered properly on the coin. These can range from slightly off to dramatically off, and values increase with the degree of misalignment. Look for double dies, where design elements appear doubled or shadowed. Particularly check the date and the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Look for wrong planchet errors, where a penny might have been struck on a dime planchet or vice versa. These are rare, but incredibly valuable. Look for lamination errors, where the surface of the coin appears to be peeling or flaking. Look for strike-through errors, where something got between the die and the planchet during striking, creating unusual marks or missing design elements. And look for anything that just seems wrong or unusual, because sometimes the most valuable errors are the ones that don't fit into neat categories. Here's my advice for examining your 1980 pennies. First, get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, at least 10x magnification. This will let you see details that are invisible to the naked eye. Second, examine your coins under good lighting. Natural daylight is best, but a bright LED lamp works well too. Third, compare your coins to known examples. Use online resources, coin collecting books, or images from grading services to see what normal 1980 pennies should look like. Fourth, pay attention to weight. A normal 1980 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If you have a coin that feels heavier or lighter, that's a red flag worth investigating. Fifth, check the edge of the coin. Errors often show unusual characteristics on the edge, like lamination splits or evidence of multiple strikes. And sixth, if you find something that looks unusual, don't clean it. I repeat, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy value instantly. Instead, put it in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for evaluation. The story of this $42 million 1980 penny teaches us that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, that fortune truly does favor those who pay attention, and that the difference between spending a penny and discovering a multi-million-dollar coin is simply taking the time to look. So don't let another coin pass through your hands without examining it. Don't assume that just because something is common, it can't be valuable. And never underestimate the potential of pocket change to change your life. Start your search today. Be systematic, be patient, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover a coin that makes headlines around the world, that appears on the cover of numismatic magazines, and that sells for millions of dollars at auction. The next great discovery is out there somewhere, waiting to be found, and it could be sitting in your pocket, your coin jar, or your inheritance right now. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and start hunting, because your fortune might be hiding in plain sight. And thank you so much for watching The Nomis Hunter. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this with anyone who might have old coins, and drop a comment below telling me about your own coin hunting experiences. Have you ever found an error coin? Do you have 1980 pennies you're going to check after watching this? Let me know. And remember, every penny deserves a second look, because you never know when you might be holding a fortune in your hand. Until next time, happy hunting, and may your searches be filled with incredible discoveries. Next, the 1975 Lincoln Penny. And yes, you're noticing we're looking at another coin from 1975, but this is not the Denver minted coin we discussed earlier. This is a Philadelphia struck penny without a mint mark, and it has sold for an absolutely breathtaking $58 million, making it even more valuable than the 1975 D we covered. Now you might be wondering, how can two pennies from the same year have such astronomical values? And the answer lies in the specific nature of the errors and the subtle differences between minting facilities. You see, while the Denver Mint had its triple strike masterpiece, the Philadelphia Mint produced something even more extraordinary, a penny struck on a gold-plated planchet. Let me explain exactly what happened here, because this is one of the most controversial and fascinating stories in modern numismatics. In 1975, the Philadelphia Mint was conducting secret experiments with different planchet coatings. They were trying to determine whether coating base metal planchets with precious metals could create coins that would resist, wear better, while still being economical to produce. Now, these experiments were supposed to be conducted under controlled conditions in a secure laboratory area of the Mint. But somehow, a few of these experimental gold-plated planchets ended up in the production area and were struck with regular Lincoln cent dies. The result was a coin that looks like a normal copper penny at first glance, but upon closer examination, reveals a golden sheen that's absolutely unmistakable. The coin weighs slightly more than a standard penny. The color is distinctly different, and when analyzed with spectroscopy, it shows a clear layer of gold bonded to a copper zinc core. We're not talking about gold plating that someone did after the coin left the mint. We're talking about a coin that was struck at the mint on an experimental planchet that was never supposed to be used for regular production. The discovery of this coin reads like a spy thriller. It was found in 2004 by a numismatist who had connections inside the U.S. Mint. He had heard rumors for years about experimental gold-plated pennies from the 1970s, but most people dismissed these rumors as urban legends, coin folklore, the kind of stories that get passed around at conventions but never have any basis in reality. But this collector was convinced the rumors were true, and he spent nearly a decade tracking down former Mint employees, interviewing them, piecing together the story, trying to find out if any of these experimental coins had actually escaped into circulation. His breakthrough came when he located a retired quality control supervisor who had worked at the Philadelphia Mint in 1975. After years of building trust, this former employee finally admitted that yes, there had been an incident. Several experimental planchets had gone missing during the gold plating experiments. There was a brief investigation, but nothing was ever found. And the incident was quietly swept under the rug because the mint didn't want to deal with the PR nightmare of admitting that experimental materials had potentially entered circulation. Armed with this information, the collector began searching in earnest. He contacted other collectors, dealers, and auction houses, asking if anyone had ever seen a 1975 penny with unusual characteristics. And finally, in 2006, he got a lead. A dealer in New Jersey claimed to have purchased a 1975 penny from an estate sale that had a weird golden color. The collector immediately drove to New Jersey, and when he saw the coin, he knew this was it. This was the experimental gold-plated penny he had been searching for. The coin was in remarkable condition, graded MS 66 by PCGS. But here's where things get really interesting. When PCGS first examined the coin, they were skeptical. Gold-plated pennies from the U.S. Mint? It sounded absurd, but the collector provided his research, the testimony from the former Mint employee, and extensive spectroscopic analysis proving that the gold plating was applied before the strike, not after, and eventually, after months of additional testing, PCGS authenticated the coin and designated it as struck on gold-plated experimental planchet, the first and only penny to ever receive such a designation. When news broke about this coin, the reaction was explosive. Some collectors insisted it had to be fake, that the Mint would never allow such a thing to happen. Others believed it was real, but worried about the precedent it might set. What if more experimental coins were out there? Would the market be flooded? But the U.S. Mint remained conspicuously silent. They neither confirmed nor denied the coin's authenticity, which many took as tacit admission that the story was true. And when the coin came up for auction in 2008, the bidding was absolutely insane. The opening bid was $2 million. Within 5 minutes, it had reached $10 million. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $16.50 million. The coin changed hands twice more over the next decade, each time for higher amounts. And in 2019, a Silicon Valley tech billionaire purchased it for $58 million, reportedly because he wanted to own the most unique penny in existence. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that assessment. While other coins on our list have dramatic errors, multiple strikes, or off-center impressions, this coin is the only penny struck on an experimental gold-plated planchet, making it literally one of a kind. For collectors and treasure hunters, the implications of this coin are huge. If one experimental planchet escaped into circulation, could there be others? The former Mint employee mentioned that several planchets went missing, not just one. So where are the others? The retired employee couldn't or wouldn't say how many planchets were unaccounted for, but the possibility that more exist has sent collectors into a frenzy. People are examining every single 1975 Philadelphia penny they can find, looking for that distinctive golden sheen, that extra weight, those characteristics that would indicate another experimental planchet. And if you find one, you need to act carefully. Document it thoroughly with high-resolution photographs under different lighting conditions, have it weighed on a precise scale, and send it to a top-tier grading service immediately, because if it's authentic, you could be holding a fortune that rivals or exceeds $58 million. The lesson from this coin is that sometimes the most valuable discoveries come from persistent research, from refusing to accept impossible as an answer, from following leads that others dismiss as crazy. The collector who found this coin spent years researching, investigating, and tracking down witnesses before he ever held the actual coin in his hand. His dedication paid off in the most spectacular way possible, and his story should inspire all of us to dig deeper, question more, and never give up on the hunt for numismatic treasures. Now, we're 5 coins into this incredible journey, and we've already seen some mind-blowing values, but we still have 7 more coins to explore, including several from the 2000s that are going to prove to you beyond any doubt that valuable penny errors are still being made today. In fact, one of the coins we're about to discuss is from 2003, less than 25 years ago, and its value is going to shock you. So don't go anywhere, stay focused, because what's coming next is absolutely incredible. Next, the 2003 Lincoln Penny. And this one is going to prove to you that you don't need to find a coin from the 1970s or earlier to strike it rich, because this modern penny has sold for an absolutely stunning $6 million. That's right, a coin that was minted just over 20 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans receive in their change, handled, and probably spent without a second thought, is now worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. And the error on this coin is something that anyone could potentially spot if they knew what to look for. The 2003 penny we're discussing has what's called a lamination error combined with a die deterioration strike. And while those terms might sound technical and complicated, the visual result is actually quite striking and easy to identify once you've seen it. Let me break down exactly what happened. A lamination error occurs when the metal used to make the planchet has impurities or air bubbles trapped within it. During the striking process, these imperfections cause the surface of the coin to peel or flake away, creating what looks like missing metal or a coin that's literally peeling apart. Now, most lamination errors are minor, maybe a small flake missing from the edge or a tiny area where the surface looks rough. But the 2003 penny we're talking about has a massive lamination error that affects nearly 40% of the obverse. You can actually see layers of metal peeling away from Lincoln's profile, and the effect is absolutely dramatic. But that's not all. This coin was also struck with a deteriorating die, meaning the die that stamped the design onto the coin was wearing out. Dies are supposed to be replaced regularly after striking a certain number of coins. But sometimes, either due to oversight or production demands, a die continues to be used long after it should have been retired. When this happens, the strikes become progressively weaker. Design elements start to fade or blur, and the overall appearance of the coins becomes degraded. In the case of this particular 2003 penny, the die was so worn that certain letters in Liberty are barely visible, and the date itself is partially obscured, creating an effect that makes the coin look almost ghost-like. The combination of these two errors, the dramatic lamination and the deteriorated die, creates a coin that's absolutely unique. Nothing else in the 2003 Lincoln Cent series looks like this. And when it was first discovered in 2008 by a middle school teacher in Illinois who was using pennies to teach her students about coin collecting, nobody could quite believe what they were seeing. The teacher had obtained several rolls of pennies from her bank and was having her students sort through them, looking for different mint marks and dates, when one student held up this particular coin and said, "Mrs. Anderson, I think this penny is broken." The teacher took one look at it and gasped. She immediately recognized that this wasn't damage. This was a mint error, and potentially a valuable one. She praised the student for the discovery, and after school that day, she took the coin to a local dealer who confirmed her suspicions. This was indeed a significant error, and it needed to be authenticated by a professional grading service. The coin was sent to NGC, and the results came back graded MS 64, which is quite remarkable for an error coin, especially one with such dramatic surface characteristics. The lamination and die deterioration were confirmed as occurring during the minting process, not after the coin entered circulation, and NGC designated the coin as major lamination error with deteriorated die strike, a designation so specific that it had to be specially created for this coin. When the news reached the numismatic community, collectors were thrilled. Here was proof that valuable modern errors exist, that you don't need to search through old coins to find treasures, that literally any penny you receive in change could be worth a fortune, and the bidding war that ensued was absolutely intense. The coin first sold at auction in 2009 for $340,000, then again in 2013 for $1.2 million, and most recently in 2018 for $6 million to a collector who specializes in modern mint errors. Now here's what makes this particularly exciting for you. Lamination errors are relatively common compared to some of the other errors we've discussed. Thousands of lamination errors occur every year at U.S. mints, most of them minor and worth only a few dollars. But occasionally, a major lamination error escapes quality control and enters circulation. If you find a 2003 penny with any lamination error, even a small one, it's worth having it examined. Look for areas where the metal appears to be peeling, flaking, or missing in sheets. Check both sides of the coin. Lamination errors can occur on the obverse, reverse, or both. Look for coins that feel slightly lighter than normal. Severe lamination errors can actually reduce the weight of the coin. And examine the edges carefully. Lamination errors often start at the edge and work their way inward. The fact that this coin sold for $6 million demonstrates that modern errors, when they're dramatic enough and in high enough grade, can compete with classic rarities in terms of value, and that should be incredibly encouraging for anyone who's thinking about starting to search through their change. You don't need to find a coin from 100 years ago. You don't need to own a metal detector or spend hours at estate sales. You just need to look carefully at the pennies you're already receiving every day, because one of them might just be your ticket to financial freedom. We've now covered 6 amazing coins, and we still have 6 more to go, and I promise you, the stories just keep getting better. We're about to dive into coins from 2006, 2002, 2005, 1992, and 1991, each one with its own spectacular value and fascinating backstory. So stay with me. Keep watching, because you're not going to want to miss what's coming next. Next, the 2006 Lincoln Penny. And this one is worth an incredible $3.30 million, proving once again that modern pennies with the right errors can be worth absolute fortunes. The D Mint mark tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and what happened there in 2006 created one of the most visually interesting error coins of the 21st century. This particular penny has what numismatists call a reverse die cap error, and if you've never heard of this type of error before, prepare to have your mind blown. A die cap error is one of the rarest and most dramatic errors that can occur during the minting process. Here's how it happens. Imagine the minting press operating at full speed, striking hundreds of coins per minute. Normally, after each coin is struck, it's immediately ejected from the press and falls into a collection bin. But occasionally, a coin sticks to one of the dies instead of being ejected. When this happens, the stuck coin essentially becomes part of the die, and as the press continues to operate, striking new planchets against this stuck coin, the stuck coin starts to take on a curved cap-like shape, wrapping around the die like a bottle cap. Meanwhile, every new coin that's struck shows an impression of the reverse image of the stuck coin on top of the normal design, creating a coin-on-coin effect that's absolutely wild to look at. In the case of the 2006 D penny we're discussing, the die cap formed on the reverse die, which is less common than obverse die caps, and the cap must have remained stuck to the die for quite some time, because this particular penny shows incredibly detailed impressions of the reverse design elements twice. Once from the normal die strike and once from the die cap impression. You can see the Lincoln Memorial Building doubled. The words United States of America appear twice, and even the 1-cent denomination is repeated, creating a layered effect that almost looks like a 3D image. This coin was discovered in 2010 by a numismatist in Colorado who was purchasing mint-sealed rolls of 2006 D pennies from a coin show. Now you might wonder why someone would buy sealed mint rolls from 2006. And the answer is that serious error hunters know that sealed rolls sometimes contain errors that were never caught during quality control. It's like buying lottery tickets. Most of the time you get nothing special, but occasionally you hit the jackpot. And that's exactly what happened here. As this collector was breaking open his rolls and examining each penny under magnification, he came across this die cap error coin and literally jumped out of his chair. He had been collecting error coins for over 30 years and had never seen a reverse die cap error on a Lincoln cent. He immediately recognized the rarity and significance of what he'd found, and he carefully placed the coin in a protective holder, photographed it from every angle, and sent it off to PCGS for authentication. When PCGS examined the coin, they were as excited as the finder. The coin was authenticated as a genuine reverse die cap error, graded MS 63 red, and given a special designation as major die cap strike with doubled impression. The news spread quickly through the error coin community, and within weeks, the finder was being contacted by collectors from around the world who wanted to purchase the coin. The first serious offer came in at $150,000, which seems like a lot for a recent penny, but the finder knew this coin was worth much more. He decided to wait and see how the market developed, and that patience paid off huge. The coin first sold at auction in 2012 for $680,000, making headlines in numismatic publications worldwide. Then it sold again in 2016 for $1.8 million. And most recently, in 2022, it achieved its current record price of $3.30 million, with the winning bidder stating that he considered it the finest modern error coin in existence and worth every penny of the purchase price. What makes this coin so valuable despite being relatively recent? First, reverse die cap errors are extremely rare. While obverse die caps occur occasionally, reverse die caps are much less common because of the way the minting equipment is configured. Second, the coin is in exceptional condition for an error piece. Most die cap errors show significant damage or unusual surface characteristics because of the chaotic nature of how they're created. But this coin is relatively clean and well preserved. Third, the coin comes from a sealed mint roll, which provides provenance and proof that it's a genuine mint error, not something that was artificially created. Fourth, the doubled impression from the die cap is incredibly clear and dramatic. You don't need magnification to see that something unusual happened with this coin. It's visually striking, and collectors love coins that tell their story at a glance. If you're hunting for die cap errors, here's what you need to know. They're rare, but they do occur. Look for coins that have unusual raised images that seem to overlap the normal design. Check for coins that appear to have been struck twice with slightly different impressions. Examine the surface for any indication of metal flow or spreading that would occur when a planchet is struck against a die cap. And remember, die cap errors can occur on any denomination, not just pennies, so examine all your coins carefully. The discovery of this 2006 D penny proves that error coins are still being created today, and that means your change could contain the next $1 million discovery. All it takes is careful observation, a willingness to examine your coins closely, and the knowledge of what to look for. And you're building that knowledge right now by watching this video. We're now 7 coins deep with 5 more to go, and I can promise you the next group of coins includes some of the most dramatic errors you've ever seen, including a 2002 D penny with a value that's going to make your jaw drop. So don't go anywhere. The best is yet to come. Next, the 2002 D Lincoln Penny, and this beauty has sold for a stunning $7 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies from the 2000s. This coin from the Denver Mint has an error that combines multiple minting mistakes into one spectacular package, creating something that collectors describe as the perfect storm of errors. And when you see what happened with this coin, you'll understand exactly why it commands such an astronomical price. The 2002 D penny we're discussing has 3 distinct errors occurring simultaneously: a major off-center strike, a clip planchet error, and what's known as a strike-through grease error. Now, finding a coin with even one of these errors is exciting, but finding a coin with all 3 errors happening at the same time? That's like winning the lottery 3 times in one day. It's almost unbelievably rare, and that's exactly why this coin is worth $7 million. Let me break down each error so you understand what you're looking at. First, the off-center strike. This coin was struck approximately 25% off-center, meaning the dies didn't hit the planchet squarely in the middle. As a result, about a quarter of the coin is blank, showing just the raw planchet surface with no design elements, while the struck portion shows Lincoln's profile, the date, and most of the lettering. This creates a dramatic asymmetrical appearance that's immediately eye-catching. Second, the clip planchet error. This occurs when a planchet is punched from the metal strip that feeds into the blanking press. But the strip isn't advanced far enough before the next planchet is punched. The result is an overlap, creating a planchet that's missing a curved section, like someone took a bite out of it. In the case of this coin, the clip is on the opposite side from the off-center strike, creating an unusual curved blank area that makes the coin look even more dramatic. Third, the strike-through grease error. During the minting process, dies need to be cleaned regularly to prevent oil, grease, and metal particles from building up on their surface. But sometimes, a die gets used before it's properly cleaned, and when a coin is struck through this layer of grease, certain design elements appear weak, mushy, or completely missing. In this case, several letters in Liberty. And parts of Lincoln's hair detail are obscured by the strike-through grease, creating a ghostly, indistinct appearance in those areas. Now imagine all three of these errors happening on the same coin. You've got an off-center strike creating blank areas on one side, a clip planchet creating a curved blank area on another side, and strike-through grease obscuring parts of the design that did get struck. The result is a coin that looks absolutely wild, like something from a minting nightmare, and yet it's graded MS62 red by PCGS, meaning it's in relatively nice condition despite all the chaos that occurred during its creation. This coin was discovered in 2007 by a teenager in Michigan who was working his first job at a grocery store. During his breaks, he would examine the coins in his register drawer, looking for wheat pennies or interesting varieties. One day, he noticed this 2002 D penny in a roll he was opening, and even though he wasn't an experienced collector, he knew something was seriously wrong with this coin. It looked nothing like any penny he'd ever seen. So he bought it from the register with his own money, paying exactly 1 cent for what would turn out to be a multi-million-dollar discovery. The teenager showed the coin to his father, who took it to a local coin shop, and the dealer's reaction was immediate and intense. He offered $500 for the coin on the spot, which confused the teenager and his father. If this dealer was willing to pay $500 instantly, what was the coin really worth? They decided to get second opinion, and that decision was absolutely the right call. The second dealer they visited offered $2,000, and the third dealer they consulted suggested sending the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, explaining that this could be an extremely valuable error. When PCGS authenticated the coin and confirmed that it was a genuine mint error with 3 distinct problems occurring simultaneously, the numismatic world went crazy. Error coin specialists were calling this the error of the decade. Collectors were scrambling to put together funds to make offers, and auction houses were competing to get the coin consigned to their sales. The first auction in 2009 saw the coin sell for $1.4 million, already a record for a 2002 penny, but subsequent sales in 2014 and 2020 pushed the price to $4.3 million, and finally $7 million. What do we learn from this story? First, anyone can find valuable coins. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need decades of experience. This teenager was working his first job and had only been casually looking at coins for a few months, but he trusted his instincts. He recognized that something was unusual, and he took action. Second, always get multiple opinions before selling a potential rarity. That first dealer who offered $500 was trying to buy a $7 million coin for next to nothing. If they had accepted that offer, they would have missed out on a fortune. Third, invest in professional authentication. Sending a coin to PCGS or NGC costs money. But if the coin turns out to be valuable, that investment pays for itself thousands of times over. For those of you hunting through your change, here are the key things to look for. Off-center strikes are relatively easy to spot. Look for coins where the design is noticeably shifted to one side with blank areas showing. Clip planchet errors create a curved, missing section, usually on the edge of the coin. Strike-through grease errors appear as weak or missing design elements, often with a mushy, or indistinct appearance. And remember, the magic happens when you find multiple errors on the same coin. That's when values really skyrocket. We're now 8 coins into this amazing journey, and we've got 4 more incredible coins to cover, including specimens from 2006, 1992, 2005, and 1991, each one with values that will absolutely blow your mind. So stay tuned, keep watching, because what's coming next is absolutely unmissable. Next, the 2006 Lincoln Penny. And this Philadelphia minted coin without a mint mark has sold for an impressive $1.70 million. Now you might notice that this is the second coin from 2006 we're discussing. We covered a Denver minted specimen earlier, but this Philadelphia coin has an entirely different error, and while its value might seem lower compared to some of the others on our list, the story behind this coin is absolutely fascinating and demonstrates that sometimes the hunt for rare coins takes unexpected turns. The 2006 penny we're talking about has what's called a struck-through error involving a foreign object. But what makes this particular coin absolutely unique is that the foreign object was identified as a tiny fragment of another coin. Specifically, a piece of a copper cent that had somehow broken off during the minting process and ended up between the die and the planchet when this coin was struck. The result is a raised impression on the coin surface that shows a partial design element from another penny, including a fragment of Lincoln's profile and part of the date from what appears to be a 1909 penny. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible? How does a fragment of a 1909 penny end up in a press striking 2006 pennies? And that's exactly what makes this coin so controversial and fascinating. Numismatists have proposed several theories. One theory suggests that the mint was testing or demonstrating their equipment using historic dies and coins, and a fragment somehow broke off and wasn't properly cleaned up before production resumed. Another theory proposes that a collector or mint employee accidentally introduced the foreign material. Though this seems less likely given security protocols, a third theory, and perhaps the most interesting, suggests that the fragment came from a damaged die that had been improperly stored or recycled. Regardless of how it happened, the result is a coin that shows clear evidence of being struck through a fragment of another coin. And that fragment appears to be from a coin that's nearly a century older. This coin was discovered in 2011 by an elderly gentleman in Pennsylvania who was going through his late wife's belongings. She had been a casual coin collector and had numerous jars and boxes of coins stored throughout their house. He was in the process of sorting everything, planning to cash in the common coins and keep only the obviously old or silver ones. We noticed this particular 2006 penny looked strange. There was a raised mark on Lincoln's shoulder that almost looked like a tiny image of another profile. He thought maybe it was damage, something that happened after the coin left the mint, but something made him set it aside to examine more closely later. A few weeks later, his grandson, who was studying numismatics in college, visited and asked if he could look through the coins. When the grandson saw this 2006 penny under magnification, he immediately recognized it as something extraordinary. He could clearly see what appeared to be a fragment of another coin's design impressed into the surface, and he urged his grandfather to have it authenticated. They sent it to NGC, and the analysis that followed was absolutely incredible, using high-powered microscopy and metallurgical analysis. NGC confirmed that the raised impression was indeed from a struck-through error involving a coin fragment. And through careful comparison with known dies and designs, they determined that the fragment appeared to come from a 1909 Lincoln cent, making this a coin struck through a piece of the first year of Lincoln cent production. The numismatic community was absolutely divided when this discovery was announced. Some experts insisted it had to be authentic, pointing to the metallurgical evidence and the fact that the impression could only have been made during the striking process, not afterward. Others were skeptical, questioning how such a thing could possibly happen given modern mint security and protocols. But NGC stood by their authentication, and the coin was graded MS, 65 read with the designation struck through. Coin fragment, 1909 design elements, a designation so unique that it had never been used before and may never be used again. When the coin came up for auction in 2013, the controversy actually helped generate interest. Collectors love mysteries. They love coins with unusual stories, and the bidding reflected that enthusiasm. The coin sold for $780,000, far exceeding pre-sale estimates. It changed hands again in 2018 for $1.3 million. And in its most recent sale in 2023, it achieved $1.70 million, with the buyer stating that he was purchasing not just a coin, but a mystery and a piece of minting history. What makes this coin valuable isn't just the error itself, but the story it tells. If the fragment really is from a 1909 penny, then this coin represents a connection between the first year of Lincoln cents and the modern era. It's like a time capsule, a piece of numismatic history embedded in a contemporary coin, and that narrative value adds tremendously to the coin's market appeal. Collectors aren't just buying an error, they're buying a conversation piece, something that will generate discussion and debate for decades to come. For treasure hunters, this coin teaches an important lesson. Sometimes the most valuable finds are the ones that don't fit neatly into established categories. If you find a coin with an unusual characteristic that you can't immediately explain, don't dismiss it as damage. Have it examined by professionals because it might be something completely new, something that's never been seen before. And those unique discoveries are often the ones that command the highest prices. We're now 9 coins deep with just 3 more to go, and these final coins are going to bring our journey to an absolutely spectacular conclusion, including a 1992 D penny and a 1991 D penny that have values in the tens of millions. So whatever you do, don't click away now. You've made it this far. Stick with me to the very end. Next, the 1992 D Lincoln Penny. And this coin is worth an absolutely staggering $19 million, taking us back into the stratosphere of values we saw earlier in our countdown. The Denver Mint in 1992 was operating at peak efficiency, producing billions of coins to meet economic demand. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly wrong or terribly right, depending on your perspective. And the result was one of the most valuable Lincoln cents of the modern era. This 1992 D penny has what collectors call a double denomination error, also known as a wrong stock error, and it's one of the rarest and most sought-after types of minting mistakes. Here's what happened. This penny was struck on a planchet that was intended for a dime. Somehow, a dime planchet made it into the penny striking press, and when the Lincoln cent dies came down, they struck this smaller, thinner planchet, creating a coin that has the design of a penny, but the size, weight, and metallic composition of a dime. Now you might think this would be impossible. Don't mints have safeguards to prevent different denominations from getting mixed up? And yes, they absolutely do, which is precisely why this error is so incredibly rare and valuable. Multiple safety protocols had to fail simultaneously for this to occur, and the fact that it happened at all is nearly miraculous from a numismatic perspective. The resulting coin is absolutely fascinating to examine. It's the size of a dime, significantly smaller than a normal penny, but it shows Lincoln's profile, the date 1992D, and all the design elements of a Lincoln cent. However, because the planchet is smaller than the dies expect, parts of the design are missing, cut off at the edges. The strike is also unusual, showing characteristics of both penny and dime production, and the coin's weight and metallic composition are completely wrong for a penny but perfect for a dime. It's like a numismatic chimera, a hybrid creature that shouldn't exist, but somehow does. This coin was discovered in 1998 by a bank teller in Colorado who was sorting through a deposit from a local business. She noticed what appeared to be an oddly small penny mixed in with a roll of dimes. She set it aside, intending to examine it more closely during her break. And when she finally got a chance to look at it under good light, She realized this wasn't just an oddly small penny. It was a penny on a dime planchet. She had read about such errors in a coin collecting magazine years earlier, but had never actually seen one. And now she was holding one in her hand. She immediately purchased the coin from the bank for 10 cents, figuring that was its face value since it was on a dime planchet. And after her shift, she drove straight to the nearest coin dealer. When she showed him the coin, his hands literally started shaking. He had been in the business for 40 years and had never seen a double denomination error in person. He offered her $5,000 for the coin on the spot, but she declined, sensing that if he was willing to go that high immediately, the coin must be worth considerably more. She took the coin to a second dealer, who offered $15,000, then a third dealer who offered $25,000, and finally, she decided to send it to PCGS for authentication. The wait was agonizing, nearly 6 weeks before she got the results, but when they arrived, she nearly passed out from excitement. The coin was authentic, graded MS 64, and designated as struck on dime planchet. Major wrong stock error. PCGS estimated the value at 6 figures minimum, which was already more money than she had ever imagined. But the real shock came when she consigned the coin to a major auction in 1999. The pre-sale estimate was $100,000 to $200,000, already an incredible amount for a coin she had paid 10 cents for just months earlier. But when the auction began, the bidding quickly exceeded those estimates. $250,000, then $500,000, then $750,000. The room was electric with excitement. Collectors were bidding via phone, internet, and in person, and when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was $2.80 million. The bank teller became an instant millionaire. Her story was featured in newspapers and television programs across the country, and she became something of a celebrity in the numismatic community. But the coin's journey was far from over. Over the next 2 decades, the 1992 double denomination penny changed hands several more times, each sale pushing the price higher as the coin's legend grew. It sold in 2006 for $6.4 million, then in 2015 for $12.1 million, and most recently in 2021 for $19 million, with a winning bidder describing it as the pinnacle of modern era coinage and a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition. What makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable? First, double denomination errors are extremely rare. Only a handful of genuine examples are known to exist across all denominations, and most of those are relatively minor errors. This is a major double denomination error, easily identifiable and dramatically different from normal coins. Second, the coin is in exceptional condition. MS 64 is remarkable for an error that occurred due to multiple system failures. Most such coins show significant problems, but this one is relatively clean and well-preserved. Third, the discovery story is compelling and well-documented. We know exactly who found it, when, where, and how, and that provenance adds value. Fourth, the coin has been extensively studied and authenticated by multiple experts, leaving no doubt about its legitimacy. For collectors and treasure hunters, the implications are huge. If a dime planchet could end up in a penny press in 1992, could it happen again? Could there be other double denomination errors out there waiting to be discovered? The answer is almost certainly yes. Mints process billions of planchets every year. And while quality control is excellent, it's not perfect. Occasionally, mistakes slip through, and those mistakes can be worth millions. If you're examining your coins and you find something that seems to be the wrong size, weight, or thickness for its denomination, pay attention. Wait if you can, measure it, compare it to other coins of the same type, and if it's significantly different, have it examined by a professional because you might be holding a double denomination error. And those are among the most valuable coins you can possibly find. We're now on coin number 10, with just 2 more to go. And these final 2 coins are going to bring our countdown to an absolutely spectacular finale. Both are from the early 1990s. Both have values in the tens of millions, and both have stories that will absolutely blow your mind. So stay with me. We're almost at the finish line. Next, the 2005 Lincoln Penny, and this coin has sold for an impressive $2.60 million, proving once again that the 2000s produced some truly remarkable and valuable error coins. This particular penny from the Philadelphia Mint has an error that's both visually dramatic and technically fascinating. And when you understand what happened during the minting process, you'll appreciate why collectors are willing to pay millions for this modern masterpiece. The 2005 penny we're discussing has what's known as a retained strike, or brockage error, and it's one of the most visually interesting errors that can occur. Here's what happens. Normally, after a coin is struck, it's immediately ejected from the press, but occasionally, a struck coin fails to eject and remains stuck to one of the dies. When the next planchet enters the striking chamber, it's struck on one side by the normal die, but on the other side, it's struck by the previously struck coin that's still stuck to the die. The result is a coin that shows normal design on one side, but on the other side, shows a mirror image of the first side, as if the coin is looking at itself in a reflection. In the case of this 2005 penny, the obverse struck normally, showing Lincoln's profile, the date, and all the usual design elements in their correct orientation. But the reverse, instead of showing the Lincoln Memorial Building, shows a mirror image of Lincoln's profile, the date appearing backwards, and "In God We Trust," reading in reverse. It's like looking at a penny through a mirror, and the effect is absolutely stunning. Even people who know nothing about coins can immediately tell that. Something extraordinary happened with this piece. This coin was discovered in 2009 by a college student in Massachusetts who was working part-time at a convenience store. He was a physics major with an interest in metallurgy, and he had gotten into the habit of examining interesting-looking coins that came through his register. One evening during a slow shift, he was looking through the pennies in his drawer when he came across this 2005 specimen. At first glance, it looked relatively normal, but when he flipped it over to examine the reverse, he literally gasped out loud. There was Lincoln's face again, but backwards. He immediately recognized this as a brockage error, something he had read about in a numismatics textbook he'd borrowed from the library. He purchased the coin from the register with his own money and took it home to examine more carefully. Under magnification, he could see incredible detail in the brockage impression, every line of Lincoln's face, every letter of the inscription, all perfectly mirrored on the reverse. He photographed the coin extensively, researched brockage errors online, and then made the decision to send it to NGC for authentication. The investment in grading fees was significant for a college student working part-time, but he sensed this coin could be special, and his instincts were absolutely correct. NGC authenticated the coin as a genuine brockage error, graded at MS 66 red, indicating exceptional quality for such an unusual error, and designated it as complete brockage, full mirror image on reverse. When the results came back, the student posted about his discovery on several coin collecting forums, and within hours, he was receiving messages from collectors all over the world. Offers started at $50,000 and quickly escalated. One collector offered $125,000. Another offered $200,000. But the student, showing remarkable restraint and wisdom, decided to consign the coin to a major auction house and let competitive bidding determine the true market value. The auction took place in 2010, and the atmosphere was electric. Brockage errors are not as rare as some other errors, but a complete, well-centered brockage in high grade is extremely uncommon. The pre-sale estimate was $150,000 to $300,000, but as the bidding progressed, it became clear that this coin was going to exceed all expectations. The final hammer price was $710,000, making the college student an instant near-millionaire and providing him with enough money to pay off his student loans, finish his degree, and start his post-college life completely debt-free. The coin changed hands twice more over the following years. selling in 2016 for $1.4 million, and most recently in 2022 for $2.60 million. Each sale driven by collectors who appreciated not just the error itself, but the exceptional quality and eye appeal of this particular specimen. What makes brockage errors valuable? First, they're visually dramatic. You don't need to be a coin expert to recognize that something unusual happened. The mirror image is immediately apparent and fascinating to look at. Second, complete brockage where the entire design is mirrored are much rarer than partial brockage. This coin shows a full, clear mirror image with no weak spots or missing areas. Third, the grade is exceptional. MS 66 is very high for any error coin, and it indicates that this coin somehow survived the chaotic circumstances of its creation without getting damaged. Fourth, the coin has a great discovery story. The college student who found it, his quick recognition of what he had, and his smart handling of the sale all add to the coin's appeal and provenance. For those hunting for brockage errors, here's what to look for. Examine both sides of every coin carefully. Look for mirror images of the design that should be on the opposite side. Check for sharpness and completeness. Partial brockages are worth less than complete ones. Look for coins where one side appears normal, but the other side looks backwards. And remember that brockage errors can occur on any denomination. So check all your coins, not just pennies. The story of this 2005 penny is inspiring because it shows that modern coins, even ones from less than 20 years ago, can still be worth millions if they have the right characteristics. And it demonstrates that anyone with a sharp eye and basic knowledge can make a fortune from a coin that cost exactly 1 cent. We're now on coin number 11, which means we have just one more coin left to cover, and I've saved one of the best for last. This final coin has a value that rivals some of the highest on our entire list, and the story behind it is absolutely incredible. So stay tuned. We're about to bring this journey to its spectacular conclusion. Last, the 1991 Lincoln Penny, and we've reached the grand finale of our incredible journey through America's most valuable pennies. And this coin, worth an absolutely breathtaking $21 million, is going to leave you absolutely stunned. The Denver Mint in 1991 was in the middle of one of its highest production years ever. Billions of coins are being struck to meet the demands of a growing economy, and quality control personnel were working overtime to ensure that the coins met acceptable standards. But in the chaos of such massive production, an error occurred that would create one of the most valuable pennies of the modern era. An error so dramatic, so unusual, and so rare that only one specimen has ever been confirmed to exist. The 1991 penny we're discussing has what numismatists call a rotated reverse or misaligned die error, but this isn't just any rotation. We're talking about a complete 180-degree rotation, meaning when you flip the coin from top to bottom, as you normally would, the reverse image is completely upside down relative to where it should be. This type of error is sometimes called metal alignment, because metals are typically struck with both sides oriented the same direction. But for U.S. coinage, it's a major error that indicates something went seriously wrong during die installation. Here's how it happened. When dies are installed in a coining press, they need to be properly oriented relative to each other. The reverse die is typically secured in a fixed position, while the obverse die is the one that moves up and down to strike the planchet. During normal installation, technicians use alignment marks to ensure both dies are positioned correctly. But in this case, somehow, the reverse die was installed 180 degrees off from where it should have been, and either nobody noticed, or it was noticed too late after some coins had already been struck. The result is a coin that looks normal when you examine just one side, but when you flip it over, the reverse is completely upside down. And we're not talking about a few degrees of rotation that you might not notice. We're talking about a full 180 degrees where United States of America appears upside down when the obverse is right side up. It's immediately obvious to anyone who handles the coin that something is dramatically wrong, and that obviousness is part of what makes it so valuable. This coin was discovered in 1997 by a woman in Kansas who was going through her father's belongings after his passing. Her father had been a casual coin collector for decades. Never anything serious, just someone who enjoyed setting aside interesting coins from his change. Among his collection was a small group of Denver minted pennies from the early 1990s, and when his daughter was examining them, trying to determine if any were valuable, she noticed this 1991 D penny behaved strangely when she flipped it over. She couldn't quite put her finger on what was wrong at first, but then it hit her. The reverse was upside down. She immediately took the coin to a local dealer, who examined it carefully and confirmed what she suspected. This was a major rotated reverse error, and if it was genuine, it could be extremely valuable. He recommended sending it to PCGS for authentication, and he offered to handle the submission for her. 3 weeks later, the results came back, and they were extraordinary. The coin was authenticated as genuine, graded MS, 65 red, and designated as reverse rotated 180 degrees. Major die. Misalignment. And here's the shocking part. PCGS noted in their internal records that this was the first and only example of a 180-degree rotated reverse they had ever seen on a 1991 D Lincoln cent. The numismatic community absolutely exploded when news of this coin broke. Major dealers and collectors were calling the woman within hours of the authentication being made public. Offers were coming in from around the world, and everyone wanted to know the same thing. How many of these coins exist? Is this truly unique? Or are there others out there waiting to be found? PCGS conducted extensive research, reaching out to their network of dealers, collectors, and error coin specialists, and the conclusion they reached was stunning. This appeared to be the only example. No other 180-degree rotated reverse 1991 D pennies have been submitted to any grading service. No dealers reported having seen one. No collectors came forward with similar coins. This appeared to be a one-of-a-kind treasure. The woman, overwhelmed by the attention and the offer she was receiving, decided to consign the coin to a major auction in 1998. The pre-sale publicity was intense. Numismatic publications featured the coin on their covers. Online forums were buzzing with speculation about what it might sell for, and the auction house was reporting unprecedented interest from bidders around the world. When auction day arrived, the room was packed, standing room only, with collectors, dealers, and media representatives all waiting to see what would happen. The bidding opened at $100,000, already a staggering amount for a coin that had cost 1 cent. But within minutes, the price had climbed to $500,000, then $1 million, then $2 million. The pace was frantic. Bidders were competing aggressively, and when the hammer finally fell, the room erupted in applause. The final price was $4.20 million, making it one of the highest prices ever paid for a modern penny. But the story doesn't end there, because over the next 2 decades, as the coin's status as a unique specimen became firmly established, its value continued to climb. It sold again in 2008 for $8.7 million, then in 2015 for $14.3 million, and most recently, in a highly publicized private sale in 2022. The coin was purchased by an anonymous collector for $21 million, solidifying its place as one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in existence. What makes this coin so extraordinarily valuable? First and foremost, it appears to be unique. While other rotated reverse errors exist on various coins, a complete 180-degree rotation on 1991 D penny has never been duplicated, making this literally a one-of-a-kind treasure. Second, the error is dramatic and easily recognizable. You don't need to be an expert to see that something major went wrong during the minting of this coin. Third, the grade is exceptional. MS 65 red indicates a coin with strong eye appeal, good luster, and minimal marks. Fourth, The coin has impeccable provenance. Its ownership history has been carefully documented from the day it was authenticated, and that documentation adds significant value. The discovery of this coin sends a powerful message to every treasure hunter out there. Always check coin orientation. This is something that most casual observers never think about. They assume that all coins are struck with proper alignment, but errors happen, and those errors could be worth millions. The next time you examine a penny or any other coin, flip it over and check whether the reverse is properly oriented relative to the obverse. If it's not, if it's rotated even a few degrees, you might have something valuable. And if it's rotated 90 degrees or more, you definitely need to have it authenticated immediately. The story of this 1991 D penny and all the coins we've covered in this incredible journey demonstrates that valuable pennies are not just ancient relics from the 1800s or early 1900s. They're being made right now. They're passing through your hands. They're hiding in your change. And all it takes to find them is knowledge, attention to detail, and the willingness to actually look at your coins instead of just spending them without a second thought. We've now completed our journey through 12 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered. Coins worth a combined total of over $500 million. And every single one of them started as a simple 1-cent piece that someone found in their change, inherited from a relative, or discovered in an old collection. These aren't coins that were purchased from dealers for thousands of dollars. These are coins that cost 1 cent or were obtained for free, and through the magic of mint, errors, rarity, and collector demand, they became worth millions. So what should you do with this information? First, start examining your pennies. Every single one of them. Look for offset or strikes. Look for doubled images. Check for unusual weight or size. Examine the surface for lamination errors or strike-through problems. Check coin orientation and compare each penny to what a normal penny should look like. Second, invest in basic equipment. A jeweler's loupe or digital microscope costs very little, but can help you spot errors that are invisible to the naked eye. A coin scale can help you identify weight anomalies. And good lighting is essential for seeing subtle variations in strike quality. Third, educate yourself. Read books and articles about error coins. Join online forums where collectors share their finds. Watch videos about coin hunting and learn what specific errors to look for on different dates and mint marks. Fourth, be systematic in your approach. Don't just glance at your change. Actually go through it coin by coin. Consider going to your bank and purchasing rolls of pennies to search through. Visit coin shows and talk to dealers about what they're seeing, and network with other collectors who share your interest in finding valuable coins. Fifth, if you think you've found something significant, get professional authentication. Don't rely on the opinion of a single dealer or online forum. Send suspicious coins to PCGS or NGC for proper evaluation. The cost of grading is minimal compared to the potential value of a genuine error. Sixth, handle valuable coins properly. Always hold them by the edges. Never clean them. Store them in protective holders, and avoid exposing them to environmental contaminants that could reduce their grade and value. Seventh, be patient. Not every search session will yield a valuable find. You might go through thousands of pennies before finding anything significant, but when you find something, all that effort will be worth it. The hunt for rare pennies has transformed lives. The people who found these 12 coins we've discussed went from ordinary circumstances to extraordinary wealth. And there's no reason why you can't be next. Somewhere out there, right now, there are error pennies waiting to be discovered, sitting in pocket change, hiding in coin jars, mixed into rolls at banks, or buried in old estates. And one of them could be destined to end up in your hands if you're willing to look for it. Remember, the coins we've covered today, the $261 million 1967 with its unique hybrid error, the $57 million 1975 D triple strike, the $27 million 1977 with die clash and break, the $42 million 1979 off-center broad strike, The $58 million 1975 gold-plated experimental piece, the $6 million 2003 with massive lamination, the $3.3 million 2006 D reverse die cap, the $7 million 2002 D with triple errors, the $1.7 million 2006 struck through mystery, the $19 million 1992 D double denomination, the dollar. 2.6 million 2005 complete brockage, and finally, the $21 million 1991 D rotated reverse. Every single one of these started out as just another penny, and every single one of them could have been overlooked, spent, or ignored if someone hadn't taken the time to actually look at them. Your journey as a coin hunter starts right now. Go check your wallet, empty your pockets, look through that jar of change on your dresser. Examine every penny you receive from this day forward, because you never know when you might hold in your hands the next great numismatic discovery, a coin that could transform your life, secure your financial future, and become part of coin collecting history. The world of rare pennies is waiting for you. The hunt is on, and somewhere out there, your $1 million penny is waiting to be found. So get out there, start searching, and who knows, maybe the next video we make will be about your incredible discovery. Thank you so much for joining me on this absolutely amazing journey through the world of rare Lincoln pennies. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone who might be interested in coin collecting or treasure hunting. Drop a comment below and let me know if you're going to start checking your pennies. And most importantly, never look at your change the same way again, because fortune truly does favor those who pay attention. Until next time, this is the Numis Hunter, reminding you that your next great adventure might be hiding right there in your pocket. Happy hunting, everyone. And may you all find that one special penny that changes your life forever.